Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kaitlyn. I'm an American who is living in Sydney, Australia and learning to live down under, and today I wanted to share 10 things that you need to do if you are over here visiting Australia. So the first thing you have to do, whether it's winter or summer, you need to visit a beach over here in Australia. Even if it's too cold to swim, the beaches are absolutely stunning here. There are so many, and there's so many different kinds. There's rocky beaches, there's the gorgeous white sand beaches, there are beaches with blue water, green water, even some lakes with pink water in Australia. Australia is famous for its beaches, and there are so many. It would take, I think, thousands of days to visit all of them. So if you have the chance and you are visiting any of the cities in Australia, even if you're only here for a short time, stop by one of the beaches, take in the beautiful scenery, and if it's summer here, trust me, you're probably going to appreciate a cool dip in the ocean. The second thing you want to do if you're here for a little bit longer is to have a barbecue over at some of the public parks here in Australia. The public parks are gorgeous. They're so well taken care of. Their upkeep is amazing compared to some of the ones that I've seen over in the States. And a lot of these public parks have free, easy to use, already clean barbecues that you guys can use when you're over here. So stop over at a Woolies or Coles, stock up and have a barbecue lunch over here in Australia. The third thing you're going to want to do is stop at a pub over here in Australia. What better place to get Aussie beer, wine, a chicken parmy or parma, depending on, I don't know if it's like where you're from in the country or just how you grew up. But stopping in a pub in Australia is a great way to kind of get a little bit of the culture, a little bit of the drinking culture that you kind of see that Australia is fairly well known for. You'll meet a ton of different people. It's a very laid back and chill place. So if you get the chance, stop in a pub in Australia. Now, I'm not much of an avid hiker, but Australia has some beautiful places to go hiking. When I was here a couple of years ago, my partner and I hiked up to Jelly Bean Pools in New South Wales. It is absolutely stunning. The Blue Mountains has so many gorgeous places to go hiking. So if you have the chance, especially if you're in New South Wales, stop by. And if you're in Australia and you have some of your favorite hiking spots, drop a name down below because I would love the chance to visit these someday. So if you're enjoying this video so far, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. I post weekly about the differences between American and Australian cultures and the overall process of learning to live abroad. The next thing you absolutely must do, especially if you are a coffee lover like me, is to stop at a cafe here in Australia. The coffee is amazing. It's some of the best in the world. Melbourne is actually world famous for having such an amazing cafe culture over here in Australia, but this kind of does permeate to a lot of other areas in Australia as well. There are some of the small little like mom and pop corner coffee shops over here in Sydney that have some of the best coffee. I have never tasted anything that even compared over in the States. I cannot rave enough about how amazing Australian coffee is compared to American coffee. Like, there's a reason that Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts and places like that don't really exist over here in Australia. True, you'll see a few Starbucks, especially in some of the airports, but overall, some of the smaller cafes that you will find over here in Australia will have some of the best coffee. And if you're in Australia, check it out before you come over here. But one thing you do not want to miss is shopping at some of the local markets. The local markets over here are incredible. It's such a unique vibe and experience. You get the chance to really get out of the touristy spots as much and really mingle with a lot of people who are actually from the area. You're not just going to be surrounded by a bunch of tourists going to these. A lot of locals will shop there every weekend. These are absolutely must-sees if you are over here in Australia and you have the time to visit more than just one city. Now, if you're in Australia, one thing that I absolutely recommend doing is visiting a museum. And before you roll your eyes and click out of the video, I'm not just talking about art museums. Australia has such incredible museums, and some of them are so unique and kind of quirky in a way. When I was here a couple of years ago, there were a few that I visited that I would highly recommend. Melbourne Museum is famous. It has such an eclectic collection. It's great if you're coming over here with family. I highly recommend, even if you're just solo traveling like I was back in 2019, definitely check out the Melbourne Museum. It is incredible. If you're in Hobart, one thing every tourist seems to do, and for good reason, is to visit the Mona Museum. Whether you're a modern art fan or not, this is such a unique experience. It's a unique place to be. And honestly, it has some absolutely breathtaking views outside of the museum. So if you're in Hobart in Tasmania, definitely check that out. The one thing I highly recommend if you can is staying at some of the smaller, more boutique hotels over here in Australia. Hotels in general are fairly cheap over here, way more than they are in the States. I was shocked when I was planning my first trip over here and saw what the price difference is between a hotel in the States compared to a hotel in Sydney. So obviously, Australia has places like the Hilton, the Hyatt, the Westin, whatever you want to call to. If you have one of those rewards points cards, things and you want to use that, go for it. But if you want something that's a little bit more of a unique experience, something that supports a small Australian business, definitely check out the boutique hotels. They are all over the place. I mean, I didn't stay at any larger chain hotels, and it wasn't completely on purpose, but I am so glad that I stayed at these small places because they were such an incredible experience. Yeah, you might not get the microwaved continental breakfast, but I had the chance to meet the owner of a small inn over in Hobart, had a talk with him, and he was just so sweet. He was able to give me really personalized recommendations as to what I'd want to see since I was only there for a couple of days. When I was over in Perth, I was in this place that was almost like a small little unit of apartments. I had basically an entire studio bedroom really to myself. It was so nice. It was the perfect place to come back and relax and not just feel like I was in a hotel room, but feel like I could actually unwind. So for some of my more adventurous and outgoing people, if you're going to be in Australia for a little bit longer than I was before, you might want to consider going camping or renting a camper van. Camping is famous here in Australia. The whole hashtag van life movement is huge over here. And not just because of the housing market, won't get into that over here, but van life over here is a huge movement. People will go camping near beaches, people will travel all around the coast of the entire country in camper vans. It is huge here. So if you are one of those adventurous types, if you don't mind getting a little bit dirty, I would definitely recommend checking out whether or not you can get a camper van and go camping for a week or two while you're over here in Australia. My last tip for you guys, and this is an absolute must-do if you're here for more than 5 days, visit more than one city. You can't just go to Sydney, you can't just go to Melbourne and say that you've seen Australia. You've seen one city in such a huge country. And obviously these might be some destination places for you guys. If you're only going to be here for a few days, sure, stop in one place. I know traveling back and forth when you're only in one place for 4 or 5 days is a bit much. But if you're going to be here for that long, see more than one city. Obviously, even if you're here for a few weeks, you're probably still not going to feel like you have seen all of Australia. It is such a huge place with such a variety of things to do and see over here. But if you have the chance, visit more than one city. Don't just stop at Sydney to see the Opera House, take a few pictures, and say you've seen Australia. There is so much more to it than just a couple of beaches and the Opera House. So that is it for this quick little video, you guys. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. I post weekly about the differences between American and Australian cultures and the overall process of learning to live down under. My name is Kaitlyn, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!